Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home and Away, a podcast devoted to all things in and around the world of sporting Kansas City soccer. I am Drew Vanderpool, joined once again, as always, by my good friend Cody Welton. This week on the podcast, MLS Rivalry Week, for some reason, coincided with the first midweek match day of the year, and Sporting Kansas City got the very short end of that stick, having to travel to St. Louis and San Diego after having just been in Portland the weekend prior, but were able to come away with 2 road draws after a comeback performance in St. Louis and a very pragmatic, defensive-oriented 0-0 draw in San Diego. While the defense continues to gel and the performance of the center back pairing and goalkeeper John Pulskamp advance in a positive manner, there are some concerns regarding the attacking prowess of the team and whether there are the right structures or instructions in place to help the team put the ball in the net. Some of this is situational given the schedule and the game state due to squad rotation, but I think we've seen enough to have some realistic concerns about how the team is executing offensively and to discuss what we think needs to be addressed. Finally, we'll discuss the current digging down the Orlando Pride, but at significant cost to the health of the roster, Leo Messi being down so bad he's whining about referees, and do a preview of the upcoming home match versus the New England Revolution. Cody, we've got 2 games to cover this weekend that unfolded quite differently, so let's start with the St. Louis match that for some reason was being played on a Wednesday in the middle of 2 games on the West Coast. Once again, Sporting Kansas City found themselves on the end of goals that seemed fairly unlucky. The first by Pompeo that was obviously very well taken. The second on a very fluky deflection that Teukert obviously knew nothing about. But the team rallied and got 2 back in the second half in a gritty performance and a fairly decent offensive performance compared to San Diego. So what were your thoughts on how the game unfolded and how Sporting performed against St. Louis?
I thought they did. I thought they did a really good job, honestly, managing the game and then showing the grit and determination to fight back and pull level. I thought it was really impressive because we have to remember that they're playing in St. Louis and contrary to what we maybe were led to believe, like the stadium was pretty full and it seemed raucous and for your main rival, for the team to be able to go into their place and go down and then still pull back and salvage a point out of that game, I thought was, it impressed me. Their just their determination and the fact that they played together and I continue to be really optimistic and kind of heartened by the performance of the center backs and Pulskamp and also you could probably throw Bartlett in there too. That sort of triangle of players. I think that they are they're still finding their way and they're still a young quartet of players, and so they make mistakes, but I think that we're seeing consistent performances out of all of them, and even better than that, like consistently good performances. And I thought that like these 2 games back to back for Pulskamp, like super impressive, right? I thought he played really really well on Wednesday, and you're never going to be sort of man of the match or whatever, and you give up 2 goals. But he came back.
Neither of those are savable goals.
Right,
right.
No
they're
human
ridiculous.
Being
on earth saves either one of those.
But then he just bounced back, and he had probably his best game. And it's funny, in my notes I had written that St. Louis might be his best. That might have been his best game, and then he followed it up on Saturday with a man of the match performance and what really was his best game, and so I think that I'm most heartened by the performance of those players.
I think he made better saves against St. Louis, but I think he played the position better against San Diego, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So I think the big saves that he made against St. Louis were more notable. He almost gets 5-hold and sort of sits on it on one, and then obviously makes the huge save with his feet at the end, or near the end of the game. But I think that those saves stand out more, but his play as the position of goalkeeper against San Diego was much more complete, much more of what we've been sort of hoping that he would evolve into as far as controlling his area, going in the air and making punches and getting the ball.
He's much more assertive.
it's getting better, like literally every game.
Yep.
Every game it improves, and it's very heartwarming to see, and it also shows you that, hey, 24-year-old goalkeepers that have never played more than 500 or 600 minutes in a season need games. They need
Yep.
games to improve. And I think we've mentioned this in the past. Like Tim Ely was what, 28, 29 when he came to Sporting, and then like just took over the job and became the man. Goalkeeping is different as far as the developmental curve, and I think we're starting to see more now where teams are more willing to start younger goalkeepers and give them time and let them grow as a part of their process, but it's still not real common. It's typically a later part of life sort of development curve when it comes to goalkeepers, and we're seeing a 24-year-old with a significant run of games, what can really happen with him. And I text with Chad Reynolds about this a lot. He's obviously very interested in goalkeeping, is familiar with the goalkeeping position, and so we go back and forth a lot about it. And I think that, what is most telling is just how much he's improving week to week.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is a significant amount of growth that's happening. And I think he said to me is like, look, if John Pulskamp can just be a top third goalkeeper in MLS for the next 10 years,
Yep.
great.
That is
Right?
great. Yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't need to be Robon Berkey or Hugo Lloris, right? Like we don't need him to be that to be what this team needs him to be, right? Which is a good, solid goalkeeper for the next 10 to 15 years. That would be fantastic. I would take that wholeheartedly. Because if he becomes that good, he's going to get sold to Europe.
Right.
Like,
Right.
if all of a sudden when he's 25 and he's the best goalkeeper in the league, here comes the big money and he's leaving, which is fine too. You take that and you move on and you start bringing up Court Camp, right? And you have that developmental path, and they have that with Court Camp and Leo Molinaro. So like, it's not like they don't have goalkeepers in the pipeline too, which is nice. It's one of the positions actually the team is pretty strong as far as like the youth pipeline is concerned, and but regardless, it's just nice to see John really like sort of solidifying himself as a starting goalkeeper. And, there was questions at the beginning of the year, hey, would he take advantage of this and get to the end of 2025 saying, hey, this is my job? And I don't know that we're there yet, but we've certainly seen progress towards that end.
I think I agree with you, but I think the context is also important. And yeah, the team is playing a style that is kind of catered to Pulskamp and suits his skill set. And in terms of maybe him being a top goalkeeper in the league or getting sold to Europe, his ability to play with his feet out of the back is really going to hinder that, and that's fine.
Tim Melia couldn't play with his feet either when he came here.
That's true, right? But yeah, absolutely right.
And he distinctly increased his capability of doing that in his 30s.
Absolutely.
Right. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's been a thing against Matt Turner. It's been a thing against a bunch of goalkeepers. I will say one thing I did notice against San Diego, and even Heath Pierce noted this in the broadcast, was that they were passing back against San Diego's press a lot more than we've seen them do this year. Like something we've seen. Well, I shouldn't say this year. Since Carey's taken over, they have not really been back passing to the goalkeeper that much. Like it's just something they've sort of avoided. And in this game against San Diego, they were willing to do that. Now, granted, it was a fairly easy back pass usually that he was just instructed to hoof long, which he's good at. But there was more playing with the ball closer to goal than we had seen previously. And I think that is a little bit of an evolution of that partnership getting more comfortable together and understanding where each other are and playing for each other. One of the things you noted earlier about Bartlett, I think against St. Louis, and let's sort of stick to the St. Louis game for a little bit, he was vastly improved in that game from the previous two performances we had seen. But also something that you noted was about them playing for each other and sort of covering for each other.
Yeah.
And this is something that Robbie Volliter mentioned at the end. I think it was after the San Diego game. I can't remember which one it was. But he and Jansen Miller have both mentioned this in pressers, where they have discussed the fact that when somebody makes a mistake, there's someone there to recover for them.
Yep.
And this was something we have discussed a lot over the last year or two, is that they tend to compound mistakes instead of solutioning them for each other. And there's just something happening. I think part of it is, I think specifically with the center back pairing, I think Miller and Volater are very complementary players in the things that they do. And because of that, for whatever reason, they seem to understand each other and understand what each other is about. And they tend to make those kinds of plays. And even I think Bartlett had a couple not great giveaways against San Diego, but he also, like, his recover into pressure, like counter pressure, when he made a bad pass was fairly aggressive. And he, in one circumstance, was able to at least slow the progression to where the recovery could come behind him. In another circumstance, Miller saw it and just snuffed it out. And I think that that's just something we're starting to see develop more and more, where, oh my God, bad giveaway in our own third doesn't mean goal. Right. And I think in the past, that's been the problem, is like, if anything bad happens within 40 yards of Sporting's goal, it's like, fuck, we're hosed. And I think what we're seeing now is a normal soccer team which can sort of recover from those situations and deal with them in most cases, right? They're not good. You don't like them, but they're things that happen in soccer games that your teammates can help cover for, which is nice to see.
Okay, so a couple of things. So as far as Bartlett goes, I mean, that dude needs to really, I think, put on some muscle in the off season, because he does get drugged too often and bullied off the ball.
He's a small dude for the position he's playing. Yeah. He's tall, so I think he's going to fill out. But yeah, he's too small right now.
And so and maybe with that added muscle comes a more willingness or a greater ability to shield the center backs instead of just covering for them. I mean, his covering is really, really good, like really good. You don't see very many midfielders in MLS, drop in and cover for their center backs. The way that I've noticed Bartlett doing it, and so, he's
played a fair bit of center back too.
Absolutely.
I think that's part of the reason why. Tell. But yeah,
So that's about Bartlett. Now, when we talk about the center backs, they're not playing perfectly, right? But they're still playing together enough, and that is included with Bartlett, that they can recover from the mistakes that they make, right? They're young enough, they're athletic enough, and they're hungry enough that when they make a mistake, they, as you noted, they like bust their ass to cover for one another and to try and snuff out those mistakes. And I think that is super, super important. And in the St. Louis game specifically, it's just nice to have somebody who's a little bit of a dick on your team, honestly. And that's Miller. And I love that. Like, I love it. I love it as a fan, as someone who dislikes St. Louis. I love that he's given them the business. I love that he's from St. Louis. I love that he's playing for Kansas City and just talking so much shit on St. Louis, to the crowd's face, to the other players. Like, I love that so much. And that's the kind of guy that you want playing for your team, frankly. And so I'm ecstatic that we finally have a player who's nasty like that.
It's kind of funny that it's a 23-year-old rookie that you got in the draft.
Yeah.
That is the one bringing this energy. Like, typically this is someone. I mean, maybe he's too dumb to know the difference and just does it. That's just who he is, and he just does what he does. But typically it's someone who has, worked themselves into a position where they feel comfortable doing something like that. And Miller is just, no, this is who I am. This is just my personality, and I'm just going to let it flow. And his teammates,
he knows what the stakes are, right? Like, right. He's not from Colombia, right? Or like the country Colombia. He's not from Colombia, right. So like he knows that this is a big deal, and he knows that he said it in the press. Yeah, he said it in the press prior to the thing. He's like, I was at this game in St. Louis last summer. Yeah, that's great.
I was in the stands, and he had like 200 people in the stands for that game, family and whatnot. But he knew what it was about. But I mean, he showed us this before
Yeah, absolutely.
this game, right? Like this is just kind of how he plays. He does not mind, and if he doesn't care if you're a DP forward, if you're flopping or whatever, he'll give him the wave. He'll do all
Yep.
this. Like he is just gonna be himself. He's got a little Christian Romero in him. I'm flying high after the Tottenham Hotspur victory today, so I'm probably gonna make a lot of Spurs comparisons. But he's got a little Christian Romero in him, right? He's like got a little bit of that vibe, but just a little bit of nastiness, a little bit of like I'm just gonna go forward sometimes for no reason. I might make a crazy tackle for no reason. I mean, like there's some of that in him as well, but also like he gives the team a level of energy that is just it's so important, man. Someone else who was given energy in the St. Louis game, one Shapi Suleimanov. I found this whole situation to be hilarious. Like
Same.
the whole thing. I mean, we'll get into Eric Tommy and his effectiveness or lack of effectiveness in the first half in a minute, but Shapi comes in the second half, and obviously Kerry was rotating players. It's 3 games in 8 days. Portland, Kansas City to Portland, back to Kansas City to St. Louis, back to Kansas City, back to San Diego, back to Kansas City. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of travel. So
Yes,
I get it. Why there was rotation, but Shapi comes in the second half, and I don't know what, but he and Celio Pompeo did not get along. They were not friends, and it was just it couldn't have taken 5 minutes into the second half, and they were jawing at each other, bumping.
Yeah, it was
just a lot of like crazy, just like I didn't even expect it. It was just it seemed sort of out of nowhere. And there's so many great pictures of it. Like they have like because Celio was trying to bait him. It was obvious what was happening. Is like he could see that Shapi was a guy that wasn't going to put up with shit. So Celio was like trying to like bait him into stuff. And there's like the great picture that like became the Sporting like profile pic for a minute. And it was just like Shapi like, did you look at this guy? Like that's the look on his face. And it was so great that it sort of ended with Shapi's free kick assist to Dan Joveljic. And it was just sort of like, the fans were booing him because, look, they see it as someone going against their guy, whatever, fine, I don't care. And then to see that, and then the sideline thing with the fans yelling at him when he does the hands to his head, it's just, this is the kind of shit that makes derbies fun.
Amen.
Right?
And it's from Shapi's point of view, it's way better to talk shit and then back it up with an assist than it is to score your only goal of the season and just get it was a great shot, but it's a pretty lucky shot, and then you talk your shit after that. No, that's Shapi's situation is way better, and I'll take it every day, and that he's proven that's the kind of player that he is, and it's a good thing that he has that sort of vibe about him because he's not a very strong player, right? Like he gets pushed off the ball a lot. He has a good defensive work rate, but he's not he's not making tackles. He's not winning a bunch of balls.
He's a pretty small dude. He's not a big dude.
Yep.
He plays hard. He's industrious, and he plays with a lot of energy and activity. But he's not a guy that's gonna body you off of things or anything. Like he's not that player. And I think he's one thing that is sort of seems clear is that he's been used to playing against guys bigger than him most of his career. So he knows how to shade his body to attract fouls. Like the guy gets fouled a lot.
Yes, he does. Yep.
Like he draws a ton of fouls, which has value as well. But it's just, I think that look. I have a separate conversation, and we have had it before about Shapi and what he actually does offensively. He damn near won the game against San Diego. Like he's, about maybe 3/4 of an inch lower, and that's a goal. And we
Sporting
still won.
Sporting took 2 shots during that game, and he took both of them. So
yeah. And there's something to be said for that, right? Like no one's taking shots, but he is. I think that there's he's the epitome of the Greg Velasquez description of danger adjacent to me, right?
Yeah.
But I love him as a player. Like I love the vibe that he brings to the team, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, the team desperately needs these guys on it, and it's just been sort of refreshing, especially in a derby match, and you just like you're down 2 goals on some fluky shit that it's like, what the hell are you supposed to do? I'm not going to even break down the first goal. There's some mild concerns I have with how they handled that, like how the set piece was handled, but it's like really small, like picking nits kind of shit. Celio just hits it perfectly, and it's just like, what do you do?
Sometimes that happens.
And the second goal, Toiker has no idea
No,
that this ball's even doing anything. Like he just sees it and it just hits his feet and just happens to go in.
Yep.
So I like that's the thing. It's like it had been at that point, what, 3 games of that kind of shit happening, and you're kind of like, I mean, when is this shit gonna go our way? I mean, I guess I should say it was 3 of the last 4 games. One of those games was Sporting won without taking a shot. So I guess there was a little bit of good luck sprinkled in there. But still, like, you're just kind of like, what the fuck, man? Like, what do we got to do? And they kept pouring it on. And I think, before we get to San Diego and the offensive woes, there's something to be said for the fact that they came out in the second half and they poured it on. Yeah. And they kept pouring it on until they scored. And I'm not sure this team in St. Louis has ever done that.
Yeah.
They've gotten trucked in St. Louis several times. So, like, it's actually kind of nice to see them come out of halftime and go, no, we're going to score.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying at the outset, is that's the most impressive thing about it, is that they went into that hostile environment and they went down 2 goals and they didn't quit. They battled back, and I thought that Joveljic had a kind of a disappointing game and was pretty anonymous until he wasn't, right? And that's
center forward play.
I know, right?
That's kind of how it works.
Absolutely. And so
pretty rarely are center forwards hyperactive and not like super active in the game and not scoring, unless you're Harry Kane sometimes. But like very rarely are center forwards like a big part of the game and then they're not scoring.
But he wasn't even getting like chances or touches in the box, or he was not even danger adjacent. It was like nothing from him, and then 2 goals, and that's what you pay designated players for, is that. And
well, Leibel got the first goal. He got the crazy header.
Yeah. Right. And so it's it's just impressive that they battled back, and like Shallowy's assist on that Leibel goal. I mean, that is freaking great, man. You and I both watch a lot
Chef's
of soccer,
kiss, man.
And you don't see that kind of stuff all the time. And so I think
can we talk about Shallowy for a second, because I think he's probably I think he's the MVP of the team the last like 2 months. Like,
he is definitely the most consistently good player, and that is a very important thing.
Right, like, and that's what I mean by saying that. Like he shows up every single game. Maybe he's not perfect or whatever, but like there have been, these sinusoidal waves in performance amongst pretty much everyone on the field. Shallowy's has been the most consistently good to above average to pretty good over that time frame. And this run he makes, this inverted run he makes that Leibel comes off of, and then the cushioned header, it's like, this is really high level shit. I honestly believe, and I'm serious about this, because I've seen Joveljic kind of fuck up some passes from Manu enough to believe this. Shallowy's the only guy in the starting 11 that sees the game even close to the speed that Manu does. Like, he's the only one that sort of reacts ahead of the play the same way that Manu does.
Yeah.
I've been pretty impressed, honestly. And it's something that you need out of your captain, right? If this guy's going to be wearing the armband when he's on the field, you need that guy to be showing everyone else like what a pro looks like. I'm not saying that Shallowy's should be getting DP money or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that he has been one of the most consistently good players. I don't think he has, when he's on, the quality that is of the level of a designated player, but he is by far the one with the lowest floor, or highest floor so far, right?
So one of the great things about Shallowy, and it is really a stark contrast between him and Tommy or him and Shoppy, is that Shallowy really develops a rapport with other players, that is part of his consistency, right? And so, like, we know already that how well Shallowy works with Denve. He works really well with Leibold. Him and Volater are on the same page a lot, and so the long overballs that Volater is playing into the channel. That's not happening on the other side of the field, right? And
Well,
it's
part of
happening
it is because Volater is exceptional at hitting them.
he is,
right?
and right. So, but I mean, it takes like Fontas was exceptional at hitting that ball too, but he constantly pulled back on it and didn't pull the trigger. Volater will let it fly, and it just Volater and Shallowy just seem to be on the same page more than they're not, and I think that is like that counts for something. That is. These are things to build on, especially when you get that consistent performance week in and week out. It solves a problem, so you're, as a coach and players, you can direct your attention to the other problems that need solutions as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I said, I think a lot of that goes to the fact that I think Shallowy's game reading and game recognition and ability to react to game situations is just better than most. And it's not just, so that's the thing. It's like, it's not just being able to predict where the ball's going to be or where the space is going to be or any of those kinds of things. It's being able to recognize what your teammates want to see and giving them that look.
Yeah.
Right? So much of this, like, I'm going to give you an example of this, and it's going to be shitting on another player, and I hate it, but it is what it is. Kyrie Shelton has been kind of a minus in offensive progression, right? Like, yep. He'll get up, when he's playing right back, he'll get up into the right-sided half space, but he's not putting himself in a position that accentuates passing. Like, it's so clear that as soon as Brody gets on the field, all of a sudden he and Shoppy are combining. Yeah. That he's just not. And part of it is because he's a winger and he doesn't know how to do this. Right? He's like trying to do advanced fullback things when that's not what he was brought up doing. But like, you can see him just sort of standing in areas and not giving his teammates the look they want to hit the pass to him.
Yeah.
And Shallowy is exceptionally good at giving his teammates the look they want, right? Like, not just finding the space, not just finding the gap, but like putting his foot in the place, like leading a foot in the place where it's like where they want to put the ball. And I know this is nuanced. I know this sounds like really detailed, but it is what makes good attacking plays happen.
Yeah.
Like, especially at the highest levels, but even at MLS levels, the windows for a lot of these are narrow, and you have to be able to understand where that window is and put yourself in the widest part of it so that your teammate feels comfortable delivering that pass. And Shallowy is very good at that. Yeah. And I think that is like a big difference between good and great players, is their ability to like understand those spaces and make their teammate feel comfortable of utilizing that space. And I feel like Shallowy has an innate ability to see the game and see the space that allows him to get on the end of balls that put him in advantageous places. We've seen since he was a teenager how good he was at getting in great spots with the ball.
Yep.
I think it's because of his innate ability to be able to read those situations.
Totally agree. Jake Davis was great too. I mean, we can't
in St. Louis. He didn't get to play in San Diego, but
right.
In St. Louis, he was
that
fantastic.
first half in St. Louis was like, I mean, he was money. It
was vintage Jake.
Yeah, it was.
And we sort of shat on him on the pod the week before because he had. Well, I mean, and for good reason. He wasn't good. He was not good, and he hadn't been good for a little while. I don't know if he listens to podcasts. I don't know. I don't really care, but I think that he was fantastic, especially in that first half. I agree. It'll be interesting to see, where his health is. I'm sure the reason he didn't play in San Diego was they didn't necessarily need to bring him on in that game, and Well,
I think they really could have used him personally, but
well, I
I know
mean,
what you mean.
yeah, I mean, I think that the way that the game state went, it was just sort of like, why risk his legs coming off an injury, especially after he just played as much as he did in St. Louis. So, whatever. I think that, at least I'm hopeful that that's what it was. It was
I
load
think
management.
and I also like I assumed that taking him off in the St. Louis game was a planned substitution because he seemed to be playing okay, and I think that is, in my opinion, if that's the case, it's a good example of positive man management, right? Like he's coming back for an injury, you let him go out. He played really well in the first half. It's okay to take him off and let him like leave the game on a high with some
Right.
confidence, and because the longer you leave him out there, the more tired he gets, and when you get tired, you get sloppy, and you start to push, and you make some mistakes that cause issues for your team, and so I'm just I if that was a purposeful sub, I'm really impressed that they followed through with it because
He was on the
it would have been
bench against San Diego. It's not like he
right.
wasn't like available. He was on
Right.
the bench. So
But it would have been really easy for a coach to say, look, like you had a great first half against St. Louis. We're going to leave you in. We're going to leave you in until the 75th minute or whatever. And that's not what they did. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the motivations were behind it, but I think that it's a good move.
yeah, I mean,
And
except until Nemanja gets hurt, right?
right,
And
right.
then things get a little tough after that point, which is even more surprising that that Jake doesn't play at all against San Diego. So maybe there is some
Yeah,
load management going on there.
I don't know. I just have a lot of questions about this the San Diego game, but we'll get to that.
Okay, well, let's get to it. Let's do
All
it
right.
because we've covered enough of the St. Louis game, I feel like. So go ahead. What are your questions about the San Diego game and how things
I
were set
mean,
up?
like the first thing I texted you during the game was like okay, like this is great, but like how is this group of players going to score? And
And we
and they
saw
didn't,
they
and
didn't. They
and
didn't.
they didn't even come close, man. And well, that's not true. I mean, Shoppy hit the woodwork, so there is that. But that was a moment of
I was sure
individual.
that he scored when he hit it. Like I saw him hit it. I
Yeah,
was like, because the way that it's at a perfect angle. The TV camera's at a perfect angle. You see it curl, and you're like, oh, that's in. Like we've seen Johnny Russell do that a number of times.
yeah,
So it's like I was
yeah.
certain, and Shoppy
I
was too.
think
You saw
he
him.
thought I was in too. Yeah. Boy,
Go ahead.
if he would have hit that and won the game on that, I mean, his confidence would have been just like unbearable, honestly.
I'm not sure that Sporting deserved to win that game one to
No, no, no,
nothing.
they did
So
not.
like
They did not.
I feel like
All,
that's one of
all
those like
what I'll say is Peter Vermes would never, right? Like that is the most regressive game of soccer I have seen Sporting Kansas City play in a long time. I'm very proud of them for really sticking it out and getting a result and a clean sheet. And we already talked about Pulskamp. He was great. I'm super impressed by the team and their ability to do that. But man, they have got to have a better idea of how to be competitive and attacking when they play like that, because they did not have anything.
yeah. So the interesting part was that we were concerned about this game, right? When we did the
Yeah.
preview, it's like we
Yeah.
were concerned about this. San Diego is a very very dynamic attacking team. And so you're just like concerned about like what are they going to do, and not only that, how are you going to create chances against their press, because Sporting isn't really good about playing through a press. Like that's not really their thing either.
Yeah.
So it's like how are they going to get a result out of this? And the way they did was just by not playing soccer.
Yeah, and that was disappointing to me, right? Because we know, and I think that to one of your earlier points, I think that that had a lot to do with personnel, right? You didn't have obviously you didn't have Decky on the field. Congratulations to him, by the way. You didn't have Shallowy until later on in the game, and we talked. I mentioned Volater hitting those overballs to Shallowy in the channels. Like that is not something that is in anywhere near Eric Tommy's wheelhouse.
Eric Tommy is not a winger. Can we just stop? Can we just stop doing this?
No.
Can we just stop?
I totally agree.
He was so narrow against St. Louis, man.
Yes, he was.
He was like a second striker against St. Louis. There was Celio Pompeu was playing as like a fucking wingback on that side, and Sporting did nothing to try to attack it until Shoppy came on, and then that's when they started getting in the fights and all the contretemps and all that stuff. But Eric Tommy was so narrow, and then you actually, I give Carey credit for actually addressing it in the postgame. He was like, look, that was a tactical choice. We wanted to try to split their left center back and their central center back with Tommy's runs. Cool, but except he doesn't do that.
No, he doesn't make runs like that.
Running off a back line is not a thing he does.
No.
He looks to possess in the middle and drive forward. That's not a thing he does. His positioning is there, yes, but he's not a guy who does that. And then he's playing left wing against San Diego, and I texted you during the St. Louis game. I was like, I remember why Tommy's not starting.
Yeah.
Because I think he's just such a shitty fit for this team.
Yeah.
He, as a person, as a player, and his his work ethic and how he goes about the game and his knowledge of the game, and there's a bunch of things that he does well.
Yeah.
None of them are positives for Sporting Kansas City other than his quote unquote leadership and work rate, right?
Absolutely.
Like, none of the things he actually does with the ball at his feet are actual positives to the way this team means to play soccer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
and that's not because he's a bad soccer player. It's just he is just ill fit on this team, and I like him. Like, he's a nice dude.
Yeah.
He's a very thoughtful dude. Like, it's not like shitting on him as a person. I struggle to understand why he's here.
Yeah, so that's in my notes. The first thing I have under his name is what's the point, right? Like what was I appreciate that Carey sort of gave that description of what they were expecting, but I mean, the thing is that if they're trying to play a passing game, like he's proven that he's not like the most adept passer in the world, either receiving or giving passes, and he's also, as you noted, he's not a person to sort of make runs in behind. And like, if you're playing, and the problem, right, is neither is Shoppy. Like, Shoppy's not that player either. Like, he's not fast enough and physical enough to really do that. I mean, Shoppy, I think, prefers receiving maybe on the half turn and not chasing balls down in the channel. And so really what they left themselves with was no way out. Right, they had no way out of really their own defensive half, and San Diego was just camped out there, and they didn't have Joveljic, they did not have a hold up player.
Right.
I mean,
and I thought Munoz played pretty decent in this game, to be completely honest.
Okay. Like,
I mean, he showed some stuff that was new and interesting. I don't know that I
don't think it suited him. Like, I don't think the game plan and the
it looked like a lot of shit I'd seen on his game film when he was playing at Santos, to be completely honest, because they were a terrible team playing against the ball most of the time. So it looked like a lot of that kind of stuff. I think he's much more adept at receiving the ball and turning with it than Joveljic is, to be completely honest. So I think that there are some circumstances where that value can come into play.
I don't understand why Mason Toy didn't start. Like, frankly,
interesting.
If you're gonna push the line and you're gonna try and play in behind them, and you don't have, and neither of your wingers are players who really do that. Why
were they pushing the line though? I don't know. So this is to
no,
your
they
point.
didn't seem to be, and that I don't know what they were trying to do.
Okay, we're
they
stepping
weren't
on
playing.
tactical corner, so I'm gonna give you a second on this one to cook, because I know you have some thoughts on this, and I agree with you about a lot of it. I think the Eric Tomic problem has been the same problem that it's been ever since he's been here. I don't know that they're doing things that put him in positions to use his skills.
Right.
And it was, what was wild to me is that Zoran Basong looked like a more progressive player than he did
Yeah.
in this game.
Yeah.
Like, Zoran Basong was trying to go forward harder than he was.
Yeah, for the team to get like as few shots as they did, like, shooting is kind of Eric Tommy's thing, right?
Yeah.
But he just was not able to find the game.
He's just not a winger, dude. He's just not a winger.
Yeah, you're right.
We just need to stop. We just need to stop using him as a winger. It's just not that. That's just not what he is. I think
and meanwhile,
can play winger, but
sure.
I don't.
Mason Toy can play winger.
Yeah.
Stephen Afrifa,
the ghost of Stephen Afrifa. I don't know where he is.
Dude.
Supposedly,
honestly, that would have been a good game for him, especially at the end of the game, to come on and play over the top to him and let him put pressure on.
Just dribble
people.
some dudes. Just let him dribble some fullback.
Right,
man.
right.
Like, anyway.
Like, I mean, like, you can tell how conflicted I am about that game. Like on the one hand, I'm like super impressed with the defensive showing, and because that's not something that I think any of us maybe expected. It's definitely not something that we would have seen under the previous coach. So the ability of the team to buckle down and do that and play like super organized against the ball, like that is. That's a skill, right? And that is a skill from the players' standpoint, and it's also a coaching thing too. And it's they looked well drilled, right?
And it's not something we've seen this team do in years, honestly. So, like, there's something to be positive about from that perspective. The other thing I will say is that this is after 5,000 miles of air travel over 8 days, and guys injured and guys on load, and just like. And against a very good team that, when they do their thing, are very difficult to stop. And this is like only like the second time or third time that San Diego been shut out all year, and only like the fifth time they've been held under 2 goals. Yeah. So like, and they eliminated Anders Dreyer from this game. Mm-hmm. He had the one shot that almost happened, and then the other, like, he what'd you tell me, he had like 13 touches or something? It was something wild. Yeah, at halftime, he'd only had 13 touches. They really did a very good job of eliminating San Diego's attacking strength and sort of forcing them to try to break them down, which I think is probably putting a scouting report out a little bit on San Diego and like what their limitations are. But I think that given the fact that Logan Adenbe was just finally coming back from injury, Kyrie Shelton, for all of his flaws in the attacking half, is actually a very good defensive right back, which is weird.
Yeah. I mean, he's big and he's fast and he plays hard. And
he's a good tackler. He honestly is a good tackler.
Yeah.
So like all of those things are working out. So like I think that I agree with you. I was not really warmed by what was happening in the front half of the field, but also you have your DP center forward is not available. Mano Garcia is on all of the minutes. Zoran Basong and Jacob Bartlett are the rest of your midfield, and Eric Tommy is playing the other wing.
This is when you have Kyrie Shelton as a hold-up right back, right? And just like send him up.
Put it up there. He's never. I mean,
no, that's not really his gig.
That's not really his thing. It isn't. It isn't. He was a decent hold-up center forward in 2018. That was kind of his thing. He held off center backs, but that's when people were concerned about him scoring. Yeah, he got a lot of attention. It's not really kind of a thing that it's a big problem for him now, or a big problem for opponents now. But I agree with you. So let's migrate to that conversation. The offensive game plan. I think we sort of touched on this last week. it's something that it continues to be a problem. Look, they can't keep taking 2 or less shots a game and hope to win. Like
Doesn't work that way.
That's
Soccer does
not
not
like
work that way.
for anyone who has read Where Goals Come From on ASA, that is not how you score goals. You are meaning to score goals in high leverage situations, and I highly recommend for those of you that are like interested in the analytics and the sort of just the analysis of kind of how goals are scored, go read that series. There's a bunch of articles about it. Even just reading the first article is very helpful, just sort of understanding the types of passes that lead to high goal scoring chances or high quality goal scoring chances. I'm still not sure under Kari Zavagnin that I know exactly how they mean to score goals. And so let's start with the San Diego conversation, which was something that you were, rightly so kind of fired up about, which is if you're going to absorb pressure for 90 minutes, just sort of sit back and sort of like deny space and absorb pressure. Usually that means that when you get a turnover, you're going upfield quickly.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to take advantage of the fact that the opponent has collapsed and play behind them.
Yep.
Sporting does not do that. Did not do that at all. Not only do they not do that, when they're breaking, they're passing behind the defense.
Yep.
Like behind, when I say behind the defense, not back behind the defensive line, they are passing behind the play.
Yep.
Like they're pulling the transition players off their runs to drop back to receive because they're not actually playing through balls. In fact, they seem allergic to through balls.
There's one player. There's one player on the team who isn't.
His name is Mano Garcia.
Right. I have seen so many times. Whether it's Shelton or Davis or Brody at right back, the right back sort of receive the ball and drive forward, and Suleimanov, instead of running, making a run ahead of them, stands. He just stands and waits for either the ball to come to his feet or the player to dribble past him, and like that irks me every time I see it, and because it happens every time, right? And you have to at least mix it up a little bit. And I think that it's important to note that teams who are good attacking teams, you have are good counterattacking teams. You have counterattacking patterns of play. Like these are things that you can practice, right? These are relationships in attack that you can develop, and it's even in some ways it's more important in counterattacking because you have to be so quick. You have to expect, like if Manu receives the ball, in the middle third, on the left side of the middle third, he has to know instinctively, and because they've worked on it, so many times and imprinted that pattern of play, he has to know that Suleimanov, for instance, is making the run down the right side, and he plays the ball blindly into space, right? That is that's an example of a counterattacking pattern of play that you can practice, that you can develop a rapport with your players, because
but let me press pause on something real quick. Whenever they try to play blind passes, there's nobody there. So
right.
The question that I have
that's my point.
is this actually something they're actually drilling, or is it a little bit of YOLO in the offensive half?
I think to this point it's a little bit of YOLO, and you can't do that with this group.
Well, I mean,
of players.
Ancelotti does it. There are coaches.
Right.
The Bruce Arena does it.
So look, the Seattle Sounders played that way, and they had Deuce and Obafemi Martins up on top, and they would destroy just those two players would gut teams on counterattacks constantly, but Sporting doesn't have those players, right? And so to make up for that sort of lack of elite talent, you have to have a better game plan in place. And to Zvagnin's defense, it seems like he's really been focusing on the defensive side of things and defensive organization. And
I mean, to be fair,
right,
probably the biggest problem,
right,
with
and
this
and
team.
that's a good thing, right? And they've shown that they can do that, but they need to start evolving like quickly and get to that next step, because if they don't, then teams are just gonna sort of like smother them and not let them out, and which is kind of what
You're much
San
more
Diego
likely
did.
to eke out results with a bad team if you're good defensively, right?
Amen.
Like, I mean, that's just kind of the way that it is. That was the thing that was so wild about the first few games of the season under Vermees, is like you expected that to be the baseline.
Yeah.
And in fact, against Miami, you saw it a little bit, and then it just like devolved back into some shit that we've seen over and over again.
Yeah.
And sort of, precluded his departure. But I think that I think what's happening is there are, in my opinion, like from what I see, there are ideas of how they want to try to unlock defenses from zone 14. They're fairly narrow. They're trying to get Manu on the ball in those situations, and there are runs that kind of come off shoulders in those circumstances. I don't think they've done shit with transition. I don't think they've even prioritized it in any way, shape, or form. If they get in transition, it's just like, hey, players, go find your opponent, your teammate in space. Like, I don't think that there's any type of intent to play in transition, which in a game like that you have against San Diego is sort of wild, because your whole game plan was to absorb pressure. So what do you do once you've absorbed it and create a turnover? And so I understand where your frustration comes from. I also think that, again, we're talking about a bad team with limited roster against a good team on their third game in 8 days. So I'm like trying not to read too much into that situation.
Yeah, I mean, and the things that you mentioned are true, but they also just underline like specifically how poor of a fit Eric Tommy is
He's
for
fucking,
that, right?
I mean,
And so
yeah.
so it's like like, I mean, Stephen Afrifa could have easily played that position.
What do you think it
and done
is
a better
about
job.
Afrifa?
I don't know, because
There's something there, because he had that like really good beginning of the season last year and played a fair bit, and then sort of fell out. And Vermees said some stuff about he needed to keep working on his form or something. A bunch of nebulous shit that happened in the press,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden we started to see him at the end of the year again. Like he kind of worked himself back into the team, supposedly according to Vermees. And then now we're seeing it again, where even with Zavagnin in charge, Afrifa can't get on the field.
Yeah, he's consistently an unused sub, and that doesn't like we know you don't develop players that way. Sorry, it doesn't happen.
Are they that worried about Tommy or Shallowy holding the armband on the field?
I have no idea. I mean, Pulskamp was captain against San
He
Diego.
wasn't. He wasn't. That was
Was that
incorrectly reported.
was that a misprint on the?
Misprint on the old footbob or whatever
Okay.
said it. He was not. It was Tommy had it, and then he gave the armband to Shallowy when
That
Shallowy
makes
came on.
so much more sense.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. But I think that it's just, that seems like a dumb reason to keep trotting out a guy who's not providing you. And I want to be clear. It's not like Eric Tommy provides no value. He is a pressure presence. He does clog the midfield a lot. Like, there's things that he does that maybe tactically you're looking for. But I mean, it was very clear within 15 minutes against St. Louis that what he was doing was not going to work.
Yep. Yep. And when you think about what they needed, right? If they were going to rest Shallowy, I mean, the idea.
Or they were resting Shoppy in that one. Shallowy started. He was starting on against St. Louis. He was starting on Shoppy's side, and he was like super narrow, trying to split their
Oh
center
yeah,
back.
no,
Supposedly,
I was still talking about San Diego, but yeah,
San
you're right,
Diego.
you're
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
like
either one.
Like if you're going to if you're gonna rest Shallowy, like you have to have somebody who has a similar kind of skill set out there.
Is
if you're gonna play
Afrifa
that
just
way.
like that ass defensively?
I mean, look, Eric Tommy is he works hard, but man, like he doesn't track back all the time. Like he gets stuck up field with like whoever's playing center forward a lot. And so I don't know whether that's he's being coached to do that. I suspect not. He just wants to be up there in case the ball comes out because he wants to go attack. But he does not track back like he needs to.
His defensive numbers are okay.
Yeah.
As a winger, like they're okay. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, Shabi is way worse in a lot of circumstances. He's getting better. He's improving. He's improving. I shouldn't. I'm not trying to shit on Shabi. He has improved a fair bit over the last couple of games. But
I mean, your point though is good. We're arguing about sort of the margins here, and like none of these players are super great. Right, that's kind of the thing. Like the
it's not like we're arguing between like Denis Bawanga or Gabriel Peck.
Right,
like that's not the argument we're having here. And so it's like would Afrifa have been better? Maybe, I don't know, but I mean, I don't think that I think the point that you're making, which is I think somewhat relevant, is. Why haven't we seen if Afrifa can do it? What are we saving Steven Afrifa for?
Yeah.
Why are we trying so hard to find a place for Eric Tommy right now?
Yeah. Especially when what was needed in that game was someone to like get in behind and take people on. Right? I mean those are not things that are in Eric Tommy's toolbox.
Which is weird because like Tommy's got plenty of vertical speed. I don't ever see him like use it to run behind defenders.
Yeah. Well, and then he has to have the touch to take down balls. And
that's a whole separate thing.
Which speaking of, I love, I won't say I love. I really respect the shift that Zoran Basong put in against San Diego. But good Lord, man, I mean. That dude.
There's a reason he's
can't pass.
he's on on a senior roster minimum. The only reason he's not on the supplemental roster is for roster cap compliance, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see different when they release the salaries. But if he's on a bunch of money and that's why he's on the senior roster, that's even a worse situation, honestly.
I mean, Jake Davis basically gives you what Basong does defensively, but also adds to it. Better passing than probably anybody other than Garcia in the midfield. So,
right, but it's not like he's fucking Jack McGlynn either, right? Like I think that there's something to be said for the fact that just Jake being the best non-Manu Garcia central midfield passer doesn't mean that he's great. It just means it.
Right. It's another thing that underlines the squad.
The chasm between Jake Davis and Manu Garcia in passing quality is fairly significant.
Yeah.
Just because he's second on that list doesn't mean he's close to Manu. And I think that just shows that just this team doesn't have a whole lot of good passers on it. And Eric Tommy's indicative of that problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to say about that, just other than you can't fix all the problems at once. And so we're seeing some of them solved. I think the one thing I will puff my chest out about on this is that I was proven right. I told you all when I watched Y Scout of Manu Garcia how excited I was about him as a player. He's fucking good, man. He's good, right? Like, he's really good.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much doubt about this, right? Like, probably the best player on the team, right?
Oh, not. I mean, absolutely the best player on the team, and he is. He's really proving to be, one of the best number 10s in the league, and probably a top 10 player. Maybe on the cusp of that a little bit, but it makes it really exciting for this weekend, right? I mean, you get to see Manu versus Carlos Hill. I mean, what could be better than that? I mean, these are our number 10s, man, for real.
Legit. Manu's a much more active player than Carlos Hill is.
They're different players.
They're different players. They do different things, but they're both extremely high quality players, and I'm super excited to see Manu's game continue to like as he settles in with the team, he gets to show more and more of what he's capable of, and you just see that like he is the 10 who was promised.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, the St. Louis game, he was really driving the game for, a large part of it.
Dude,
And
he had a great game in that one,
yeah,
and I'm
he
not sure
really
all of
did.
it came off on stats or mob rating or
Yeah,
whatever that is, but he played fantastic in that game.
yeah.
Okay,
But
I mean,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing with him, right? And we've talked about this before, and it's really important to understand, especially in when in a case like San Diego, when you play teams like that, like he receives in turns or receives on the half turn. He's such a good turn artist, right? Like an artist, right? Like he makes turns that make me like say things like screech out loud and stuff. It's kind of embarrassing. But when he makes that turn, like the dude has to have runners. He's got to have runners. Like he is so good because as you
you
mentioned,
have
like
to expect when he's receiving,
yep.
he's gonna turn out and go forward.
And
Like
he and like you said,
like
he
as soon as
sees.
the pass goes towards him, those wingers need to be
That's
upfield
it. That's it.
immediately.
Because
Like
that's what he can do. Because that's what he's doing. Like he is when he makes that turn, he is like Terminator scanning, and he's ready to drop dimes. And
can you imagine if Paintsel and Peck had him sitting at LA Galaxy right now? Like
they'd be
things,
like Ricky who.
Ricky. Yeah, and
No,
I'm not
no, they
saying
would.
he's better than Ricky Pooch or any
No.
of that, but they would be in a much different situation than they are
Yep.
right now. And that's what I'm saying is we don't have two DP wingers who
No.
just think that. I mean, to Shalloway's benefit, he does tend to get up when he can.
Mm-hmm.
Shoppy is not a run behind the line
Yep.
winger.
Yep.
As much as I talked about, saying his graces for all the things that he did in the St. Louis game, which I enjoyed, and he has a cultured left foot. Like when he gets it on his left, he can do some things, no doubt, and on set pieces and all that kind of stuff. There is value to Shoppy, so I don't want to like diminish his value, but yeah, they've got a guy who can very quickly turn possession in the midfield into a transition event.
Yeah, which is another reason why Joveljic, when he does play, like I would prefer him not dropping into the midfield as much. I would prefer him, staying up with the center backs and pushing the line and making runs off of their shoulders because they have a player who can get him the ball in those kinds of situations. So, I, but I think that is I think that's frankly I think it's a coaching choice and a stylistic choice more than anything. And
they seem pretty reliant on the 4-3-3 right now, and I got to be honest, I do think that Manu is more of an 8-10. Like he is a sort of traditional 4-3-3 sort of creative midfielder for sure.
yeah,
That who also could play deeper if necessary, and you could have a more creative guy next to him. I spitballed some guys in the Discord that I think that could fit that as well. You had sort of brought up the idea from a roster building perspective, like should they go for another midfielder as a DP and just be a ball progression machine? And potentially. I mean, I think it really depends, honestly, as to how good of a talent they could get out of a U22 winger.
yeah.
Right. I think
So-
that's the key component of that.
Well, and a lot of that depends on how they're going to play, right? Like, what kind of winger profile are they looking at? Are they looking at somebody who has speed and athleticism, who can play in behind? Well, then by all means, like break the bank and go after that player. But if they're not, right? If they're looking at a player, a Suleimanov, profile type player, then they should look at adding a midfielder instead, because they're just not dangerous enough. They just don't have it. They don't have the juice. Guess which player had the most touches in the attacking penalty box
Against which team?
against San Diego?
In the attacking penalty box, who had the most touches for the team? I don't know. It's probably a fullback or something like
No,
that.
it's my boy Jansen.
Yeah. Janssen.
Jansen Miller, baby. Yeah.
No
I mean,
way. Miller was it off of like they didn't even have any corner kicks. How could he possibly have had the most touches inside the 18? Is that true?
I don't know. That's what
You're checking your stat sheet over here.
I'm checking my notes, man. That's what I saw.
Okay. All right. I
It's
mean, I
wild.
believe you, but that sounds a little suspect to me.
That's
they
why
had
I wrote it
they
down. I was like, holy crap, are you serious?
they took two fucking shots in that game. Like,
Yeah.
how in the hell did Jansen Miller have most touches in the 18? I believe you, but I'm not. I don't have. I can't validate your claim right now. But
I'll find it and show it to you.
I trust you. I trust you. I think that yeah. I think that there are a lot of factors involved here, and this is a nuanced conversation where multiple things are at play. I think that there's a legitimate conversation to be had about whether or not Carey can create the types of offensive progression patterns that we see out of the best teams in this league, right? And I say that because a couple of the ones that we enjoy the most don't necessarily have the most high flying talent on them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Columbus, you look at Vancouver, specifically Vancouver for sure, but definitely Columbus as well. Even with Rossi, it's not like they're Rossi and Gazdag. It's not like they're like not like Rossi and Gazdag are that far out from Manu and Joveljic, right?
No, they're not.
And they still are one of the best passing teams I've ever seen in this league. Next to Vancouver, who have done this on a much lower budget without any of those types of key players.
Yeah.
They've done a good job in getting some guys that you know, Andreas Kubas, I know, is a big favorite of yours. Pedro Vite, Sebastian Berhalter has obviously leveled up, but all those players have sort of leveled up within the system, right? Like
Yeah.
they're being used, and they're like the way that they move the ball is fun to watch,
Yep.
and we're a long ways away from seeing that in
Yeah.
Kansas City. And I do believe that some of it is due to the limitations of the players, but I think also some of it is due to limitations of being able to put players in positions to do that.
I totally agree.
And I don't know if 10 games from now, Kerry Zavagnan's all of a sudden, you know, with enough time with his team is going to create those patterns, but we're not really seeing him so far. I think that he has done a good job of resetting the team in a positive way after they were in a really bad way when Vermees was let go. I think he's done a good job of solidifying the defense and finding a defensive setup that works, and has also done a good job of enabling young players on a team that desperately needed to get younger.
Yeah.
All of those are great building blocks. I don't know that that necessarily means that he is the guy to lead this team for the next 5 years. And I don't think anyone realistically would expect that you'd be able to make that decision at this point. I think it's going to be late into this season, perhaps into the off season, before that decision is made, and it probably should be that way. And in the meantime, we're just going to have to see how this stuff works out. And hopefully, with a full week off and a home game, we'll see them look a little bit more like the team that we would expect, a little bit more useful in possession, while continuing to build off that defensive solidity that they have developed over the last several weeks. All right, so let's move on.
I don't think Zvagnan's doing a bad job. I just want to.
I don't either. I don't either. But I don't think he's doing.
But he also gets an incomplete, right? Like.
Yeah, it's also not like he's doing an amazing job either.
No,
right?
no.
Like I think he has done. I don't say as good as could be expected, because I don't think that's true either. I think he has done a positive job.
Okay. C plus.
B minus to B range is kind of where I put him.
Wow, that's okay. We'll take.
You think it? You think it's worse than that?
Yeah, I mean, I
think like B minus is kind of where I've got him.
I would probably give him like a a C, maybe a C plus, just as an average type performance.
Well, then what was Vermees doing when he left? F minus.
I mean, you can't really look at it any other way.
I mean, he got fired, so obviously it wasn't great. But I mean, the difference between what was going on with this team prior to Vermees being let go and now is, I mean, we're talking a fairly significant improvement since then.
Just vibes alone, right? But also all those other things that you mentioned that Zvagnan's been able to do. So, yeah. it was pretty grim before.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's like, oh my God, hire this guy tomorrow, but I think he's also done some things that were necessary. We certainly saw them immediately, the necessary ones. We're starting to see some sort of different things happening that I think you and I are starting to raise our eyebrows about a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm also willing to wait another month and see how some of that settles out
Yeah.
before making too wild of a determination about what that stuff really is.
As we're seeing in St. Louis, being defensively solid is great, but you got to win. You got to win if you play. If you don't play a quality, attractive soccer, attacking soccer, you
And I
have
would
to win.
say, and I would say outside of the San Diego game, they probably should have won a couple of those games, right? Like
Sure.
I think that that's the thing. It's like I don't think the Portland game was indicative of them playing poorly.
I mean, and they should have won
Overall,
the St. Louis game too.
they should have won the St. Louis game
Yeah.
for sure. So like I think there are. Yeah, I think some of this stuff is, and we're going to get to this when I do the preview of New England. Some of this is just kind of how soccer goes sometimes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and so I think the sour taste is in our mouth from San Diego specifically,
Yeah.
but I'm not necessarily letting that be the only driving opinion because they also gave up 4.1 xG against San Jose, and it didn't feel like that game that game was as lopsided as the XG shows, right?
Right.
So, like, I think that there's the way this stuff levels out. Okay, let's move on to potpourri. Just like for every Jeopardy category, we'll discuss a couple topics in and around the Sporting Kansas City MLS soccer sphere. The Kansas City Current are now clearly the best team in NWSL, taking down Orlando 1-0. It was a win, but not without some cost.
Yeah.
Alana Cook goes down with a non-contact injury in this one, and she had been basically personally shadowing Barbara Branda for the entirety of that game up until that point. And it sounds, I haven't heard the official report, but like the early indications are it's a bad one. Dabinia gets tackled on a foul. Like, this is a yellow card foul all day. I don't even know what the fuck the ref's doing in this one. Referees sometimes can be a little, they'll quote unquote let them play in games like this, and that was definitely happening in this game. But this was a hard foul from behind. Dabinia goes down. Sounds like she's going to be out maybe through the summer.
The whole
Cool.
summer?
I mean, that was what Thad was saying. Most of the summer? I forget exact. It depends on what you consider to be the summer. Does the summer end at Labor Day? Where does the summer end? I don't know. But does the summer end at the autumnal equinox? Like, what are we talking about?
That's what science would say. But yeah.
Science would say, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I know the science teacher over here is like, the whole summer? Are we talking about mid-October? I don't know. I don't know what that means. We're still waiting to hear, but it's going to be several weeks / months for Dabinia. And then Temla goes down again with a injury that is something she's been fighting against for some time. So hopefully that won't be as significant or as something that they can kind of work through. But it's good to see them win this game. But man, the toll seemed to be fairly significant. I don't know what to say about that other than that. I mean, one thing I do want to call out. Let's end this on a happy note. The U.S. Women's National Team rosters came out. And yes, Claire Hutton, who we are big stands of on this podcast, was on it. But also one Loeau Labonta was on that roster. And literally got dusty in the room when I saw this because you want to talk about somebody who's gone through some shit to get to where she is in her career and has probably deserved this call before now, but really, 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 really happy for Lo to finally get her call up to the women's national team at age 32. It's like, I mean, you just keep working, man. Just keep working.
And she does. She's a worker.
Yeah. I'm just super, super happy for her. She's like, I mean, look, she has been sort of the face of this franchise since it came back to Kansas City.
Yeah.
And has done so much for it in that regard. And obviously we know her, and her husband Roger being a big part of the Sporting Kansas City sphere, just all that stuff. Like they're kind of like the first soccer couple of Kansas City, which is great and whatnot. But also, like, she is like a fucking legitimately like awesome person, and just absolutely works her ass off and just deserves all the accolades that she's getting, and sort of has been overlooked for a lot of the stuff that she's done for a long time. And I'm really, really happy for her. And I really hope that she gets to get capped in this series, because you never know if she'll get called in again or not. I do think she is the kind of player that's going to endear herself to Emma Hayes. I really do believe that, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how camp goes and whether or not she gets the call back in.
She does seem kind of irresistible.
She's just coaches love her. Like every coach has ever, like, coaches talk about her all the time, like just being like that type of person. And Emma talked about her as like, you know, playing so consistently and playing so well, and also with just the nature of the roster that they've had to bring in, because all of Triple Espresso is out, and just a variety of other, you know, like different changes they're having to make. They have a lot of young players in the roster, so it's good to have some experienced pros, even if they're not experienced with the national team, in there that really help Lowe get this call, which is great. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for Lowe Labonta and Claire Hutton over Corbin Albert. So
Lowe will bring it.
Yeah, she will for sure. Okay, moving on. Lionel Messi complains about pro referees. He channels his inner Mark Kapfer and like gets on Apple with Michele Giannone and like gives an interview.
Leo should not go for the GOAT, man. I mean, when you come at Mark, you best not miss.
You best not miss.
Mark is the GOAT.
It's like, don't come here with these trash ref takes. Like, you got to be better about it than this, man. Like acting like they don't know what the back pass rule. Like, come on, dude, for real. I mean, but Leo has never done a sideline interview in MLS. Ever. Like, every interview he's ever done has been one of those canned ones, like that's like pre-negotiated. And he pulls Michele Giannone aside, and good props to Michele to like talk, like saying, "Hey, do you want to talk?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got something to say. These refs suck." And I'm like, Leo, is this really the way you wanted to do this, dude?
You're not wrong, but this was not the time, because they weren't wrong.
They weren't wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, refs make mistakes. It happens. That was not a back pass to a goalkeeper, ever. Like, this. I don't even know that this guy intentionally played the ball.
Yeah.
Much less intentionally played it to his goalkeeper. And the best part about that whole situation is they were so concerned. They were so concerned with just like doing this, arguing with the referee, that they completely missed the play. And Orlando West Street don't feel it scored.
Yeah. It reminded me that is something we're seeing less of from Sporting Kansas City. Is a lot less.
Fair point.
Ref complaining, but yeah, it's the whole Inter Miami season so far has just been an illustration of the dangers of hubris, honestly, because you. Like, you can't just bring in all your friends and you get rid of all of the MLS veterans, because they need those guys, right? Like, they need to have players who, players like Yedlin and players like, Robert Taylor, and those are players who helped shoulder the load, and who were willing to do the hard running and the hard work that allowed the Barcelona guys to just kind of YOLO it, right? But those guys are gone. They got rid of all those guys. And so if there's one thing that people who follow MLS knows, is that you cannot undervalue MLS veterans and domestic players because they know what's up, right? We're seeing that with Jansen Miller right now because they know what's up. They know the league, they know the stakes, they know what it's like, and when you jettison all of that and you bring in a coach who's never coached in MLS or never even coached in an actual
He's
league,
never coached anything.
Like,
He's coached a youth national team. That's it.
It's just hilarious. Honestly, it's really funny.
They deserve what's coming to them here because
they completely do.
Jorge Mas went full capitulation mode with Messi
Yep.
and just gave him whatever he wanted and
Yep.
totally fucked this team in the process. Like they were a very good team last year when they had
A good coach.
Paul McDonough, and they had was it Chris Henderson? Chris Henderson. When they had Chris Henderson, they had Tata Martino. They had legitimate people who understood MLS running things. And then they just sent all those guys on and just let Leo do whatever he wants. And now he's got Oscar Ustari playing a goal who fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is terrible.
Yeah, he is.
Like, one of the worst. Like, if he was Luis Marin, he would already have been sent back to Chile. Okay? Yeah. Like, this guy is garbage. And these are the players playing for Miami now. Marcelo Weigand, who I even said back then, like, he shouldn't have been playing when Tata was playing him. Like, he wasn't their best right back then. And, like, they just have all these guys who are just guys Leo likes.
Yeah.
I mean, good for him. Like, the guy's in control of an MLS team. Good for him. But he doesn't understand the dynamics of it. The other thing that's clear, because these guys all played at Barcelona for so long, they've never played in a position where they've got the shit kicked out of them over and over again. Like, they just don't know what to do in leagues where a lot of car crashy shit happens.
Yeah.
Right? Like, none of those guys ever played in Italy. None of those guys ever played in Germany.
Yep.
None of those guys, you know what I mean? Like, they
didn't play in the APL. Yeah, they played in La Liga, which is the...
They played in La Liga, where when they were at Barcelona, they were so much better than everyone. They could just... And don't get me wrong, it's not like Lionel Messi's never been fouled before, right? Like, but it's like, this is... There's a level of physicality to MLS play that I think is surprising to a lot of players, honestly, because they're just not good. They're just not good technically, so they play a lot with their bodies, and that is what happens in some of these games. I watched Tottenham play Manchester United today. That was not a good soccer game. It was a lot of tackling and a lot of physical, just like running into each other. There wasn't much good soccer being played. But that's how some of these games go. And it goes a lot in MLS. Like, there are very few teams that play really attractive soccer. Yeah. And so, like, this is just... I just feel like these guys are just not prepared for it.
No, and the funniest thing about it is they did the things right last year that they should have, right? Like, they had the veteran MLS players. They had Diego Gomez, who was happy to just run around and tackle people, and
they sold him, and they should have.
Proficient. Right, but they didn't replace him with a similar player, right? And so there's nobody running the midfield other than 40-year-old Sergio Busquets, who has never been the most fleet of foot guy, and you just need someone to win balls and to do the work so that those guys can do their thing. And Suarez is not, like, he probably should be benched. Not probably, he should be benched.
I think part of it too is just the choices that Mascherano is making. Like, Redondo never starts for them.
Yeah. Well, Calendar, right? That's the
Calendar got sent. They not only did they ether Drake Calendar for Oscar Ustari, they just signed William Yarborough.
Yeah.
Off the trash heap.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
He played last year. Did he play for San Jose? He was on San Jose's roster last year, right? Yeah. He didn't play, but he was on San Jose's roster last year. But, like, they have other players that could like do things for them in this midfield and in this attacking line that they're not using.
Yeah.
Because it's the reason that Mascherano is there is to do what Messi wants.
Yep.
To put his guys out there. Yep. They just signed Jordi Alba till 2027. And they're about to announce an extension for Lionel until 2026.
Sweet.
And, I mean, good for them, but, I mean, like, I like Segovia. I think Segovia is a good player, but he doesn't start that often, right? Like, they have good, exciting players, but like Luis Suarez, I don't know how he played as well as he did last year because I you could tell like his knee was bad. He is gone
Yeah, he's cooked.
down.
He's cooked, man.
He is he
Every
is sautéed, dude. Like there's not much left in those
no,
legs.
no.
And so I do think that they need to make some adjustments to what they're doing. But yeah, they just have so many internationals. It's just,
Yeah.
I do think that having some guys who are familiar with the league and what's up, and they had one of them, Julian Gressel,
Yep.
and they like just ethered him and sent him to Minnesota.
Yep.
So, whatever. I mean, I find it kind of hilarious. Like it just
It is.
they gave Lionel Messi control of a team in a league that he knows nothing about other than he's better than everyone in it. Which is sure, but I mean that's
He's only one person.
yeah, and he doesn't mean he knows how to operate within it. It is a fairly complicated league to operate within, and I don't suspect that he has any comprehension of how to do that part. Okay, last thing on Potpourri, and this is obviously a somber one. The news came out this week that former Sporting Kansas City midfielder Gadi Kinda passed away. He had been in the hospital for a couple weeks, I think, at this point, with what had been described as a complicated medical situation. There have been some comments on the Discord about kind of what that medical situation is. Again, if you want to participate in the conversation and go to the Discord, the link is in the show notes. I'm not going to repeat stuff that hasn't been reported or been officially been released, but there was some discussion there about what that was and what happened. I think all we can say is just like a 31-year-old professional soccer player passing away at this age is just, it's way too soon, and it's very tragic and it's very sad, especially for someone who, by all reports, went back to Israel to be close to family. Obviously we know that there's a lot going on in Israel, and I'm not even going to try to step into the conversation about the dynamics of that, but knowing that someone that is from there, lives there, has family there, and is dealing with all of the chaos that's happening there, goes there to be near family, and then to pass away at this age with children and a wife and leaving a family behind is obviously very. I mean, it's just it's upsetting on several levels, and just I just hope that his memory can be a light to the people that need it.
That is the Jewish saying is for this kind of circumstances, may his memory be a blessing. And I always thought that was really profound and a sweet way to honor somebody. And I think that is the case with him. I mean, his memory should be a blessing for us and for his family and for fans in Israel as well.
Couldn't say it better, and I know a lot of memories have sort of poured out over the last few days, and hopefully those memories can, to your point, can continue to be a blessing to all of us. Don't know how to segue from that, but I'm going to try to. Sporting Kansas City plays a home game on Saturday against the New England Revolution. They did lose in their Open Cup match on Tuesday night with a fairly rotated lineup. Although that was their first loss since April 5th. They were struggling fairly heavily to start the season under Caleb Porter. Caleb Porter is not a coach who I have a whole lot of time for, but he has been successvel, right? He has a couple of MLS Cup wins to his name. Typically, it's in the second season. Very Ange Postecoglian, I guess, in that regard. Maybe not in the style of soccer, but certainly in the winning things in his second season. He has certainly turned that team around, or the team has turned around. I don't know if he's responsible for it, but the team has turned around. It does coincide with them moving to a back three, and I'm not I don't want to do correlation causation, but it certainly has seemed to have solidified their defense, at least from what they've allowed in goals. They're still giving up the same amount of XGA as they had been prior to that. Yeah. The shot quality hasn't been very good. as far when I say shot quality, I'm talking about the post shot xG on those shots, right? So they're giving up the same amount of xGA, and in a lot of these games, they're north of 2 xGA. They have just the post shot xG has been low, and maybe some of that is due to positioning and closing off angles or whatever it could be. I'd have to really go through and analyze every shot, but they are not. They have created some shutouts on fairly significant xGA, which but the post shot xG is low. So I know in the San Jose game, like they did this 0-0 draw. There were some pretty high quality chances, just were bad shots by the opponent. So I don't want to say that they've been lucky, but I would say that the results have been in excess of their performance.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. And they haven't played their last 5 games. They haven't played fantastic teams, right? And so I think that that's something to sort of take away from. I mean, they tied Orlando, which is a good result. They tied the Quakes 0-0, which
they tied Orlando
how?
3-3.
Right.
That's a
right, and then they gave up 3 to Chicago Fire too. So
yeah, well, and again, that was a rotated lineup.
That was yesterday, right?
That was a rotated lineup. I'm not going to put too much into that match, but which means that they should be fairly healthy for this game. Some guys came in later in that one, but still, the player load shouldn't be too bad. Now that said, they are, because they've been doing Open Cup, they are playing a lot of games right now. So they had a game on Tuesday. They played, and then they played Saturday. They didn't have a midweek before between Orlando, and so they were one of the teams that was off. How does Sporting keep getting this? They always get this in the schedule. So they were one of the 4 teams that were off on midweek last week. Mm-hmm. So yeah, then they rotated against the Fire. So this is basically like the regular game week for the New England Revolution. So anyway, I think that they are a team moving in a positive direction right now. It feels a little fool's goldy to me as far as how good they actually are. But they did win 5 games in a row, so you can't diminish that.
Well, and the thing is that if moving to the back 3 can solidify them defensively, I mean, you have Carlos Hill. So Carlos Hill means you're always into it.
Can I say something about this though?
Yeah.
Did moving to the back 3 actually do this, or did moving to the back 3 surprise opponents for a few weeks?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question.
The first game was against Atlanta. Atlanta is ass. New York City is not much better.
Yeah.
Charlotte is only good when Zaha decides to play. Toronto is garbage.
Yeah.
So you're right. The teams they've beat, Atlanta, NYCFC, Charlotte, Toronto. I mean, it's not like they beat Columbus and Cincinnati, right? They or Philadelphia or you know what I mean?
Yep.
I think that point you made was valid. The wins came against weaker opponents, which, to be fair, Sporting is weaker than most opponents. So
mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that they'll come out in some variation of a 3-5-2, right? And so. And probably it'll be more like a 3-4-1-2,
right?
And so
with Heel at the 10, yeah,
right. So that means that you're always going to want 3 defenders, right? 3 center back type defenders. So it'll be the 2 center backs and Shelton probably. It might be the 2 center backs and Bartlett. That would. I think
Brody
that could
starts. If Brody starts, that's probably the ideal way to do it, in my opinion. Yeah.
Because the rule of thumb is you always want one more center back than attackers.
Do you think that I have concern? So I would actually prefer that Brody starts in that circumstance, because I would prefer to have Bartlett just shading heel as opposed to Jansen Miller doing it and then having to rotate back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Does
Well,
that make sense?
it does, but I think that they'll play more of like a flat three, and then have whoever's left in the midfield shielding heel. So, if it's like Shelton and Miller and Volater, then that frees up Bartlett to shadow Carlos Hill. Otherwise, I mean, shit, it might just be Zoran Basong again. It might be Jake Davis. Who knows? I
I'm
wouldn't be
hopeful that it's
surprised.
Jay.
I mean,
I'm hopeful that it's Jay.
I mean, I am too, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them bring out Basong again. If you drop Bartlett into the back line and then have Basong shield Carlos Hill. I mean, it's going to be difficult for them
Well,
to.
but then you're trying to over. Then you've got 4 to their 3, right? Like, I mean, I think that
No,
ideally
that's what you need. One more.
Well, yeah, but then they're like all the problems we discussed about their ability to
Right.
have attacking numbers become a problem again.
Yep. Except you'll have Shallowy.
Okay.
He'll be back starting. You'll have Jovic, and so
Yeah, I haven't seen enough
it's
of.
interesting.
Like, this is the thing about New England. I got to be honest. I crammed a bunch of their like statistical numbers. I crammed some of their highlight packages. I haven't watched them enough. This is a team that's totally different than the team they had last year,
Yeah.
right? And they've had some ins and outs as well. But Eli Feingold I'd never heard of before, and that's the guy that plays their right wing back position, and that would be the guy ostensibly that Shallow be trying to take advantage of. I have no idea if that's a thing he could do or not. Al Hassan Yusuf has been very good in central midfield for them. Like, sort of, he's more of their 6, even though he plays in a double pivot alongside Polster behind heel. And then Ignatius Ganago. Like, I didn't know much about this guy either. Like, they signed so many, because they jettisoned a ton of players in the offseason.
Yep.
They signed so many guys that, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I would have had to watch like 3 games to scout this team effectively, and I'm just not going
Nobody
to
wants to do that.
do that for the one time that Sporting plays them this year for a 1.5 hour podcast. So yeah, I didn't get to that level, but I will say that San Jose created a ton of chances against them.
I mean,
As they do against
I
anyone.
was going to say San Jose does that with everybody.
Well, no, but New England didn't create that much against them. So, like, it was a 0-0, yes, but it was also a situation where San Jose they created a bunch of high quality shots, and New England did not.
As you pointed out, their XGA is still pretty high. I mean, their average XGA for the season is like almost 1.5. They're
Even in this winning streak, since they started winning, their XGA is the same as Sporting's.
Yeah.
And Sporting's includes a 4.1 XGA against San Jose.
yeah.
Like, all of their game, you and I talk about this a lot, about that game being an outlier in both directions, right? Goals against, all that stuff. The game's sort of an outlier from the statistical model. If you look at like all the rest of the games, Sporting's XGA is in the 1.5 or less range. New England's is north of 2 in most of those games.
Yep.
So I do think that they give up chances. I think the key is, I think they've been lucky in the fact that those chances haven't turned into high quality like shots on goal. And I'm not saying Sporting's going to all of a sudden create them, but I'm saying that their results have been good. I don't necessarily think they are good. Let me put it that way.
Right. I think we should expect a much more dynamic performance than what we saw against San Diego, because as we've mentioned, they're not a great defensive team. New England, they are not a super great attacking team either, outside of Carlos Hill, and Sporting Kansas City is going to be playing at home after a pretty long stretch of road games, and so I I think that we should expect, some fireworks, something a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more purposeful in terms of driving the game and being direct and going to goal. I really hope that's what we see because it's been a long time since we've been out to Children's Mercy, and it'd be nice to go out there and be entertained.
Yeah. And it's going to be a little bit too, because there's another several
Right.
away games after this. So I think we only have another 2 home games in June. It gets pretty heavy duty after that, but yeah, we're in this, Sporting is in this weird part of the schedule where 7 of 9 games are on the road.
Yeah.
And things start to level out after that, and we get a lot more home games again after that. But it's a tough time, and so you got to take advantage of your home games when you get them. And hopefully they're able to do that. They've had a week off, some more time to sort of work on some things and be prepared for this opponent, which, we would expect them to be. And hopefully that is what we see. Last thing before we go.
Hey, you want to bring your ponchos.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it's probably going to be raining on Saturday night.
It's only Wednesday. It's the Midwest. Things can change weather-wise. But that pattern was supposed to be all over the top of Saturday, and it's been moving further and further, and now it's starting on Saturday. So, let's just hope and cross our fingers.
Cross our fingers.
Maybe it won't be cold and rainy for that
Maybe
game.
There'll be a thunderstorm and a rainbow. That's a guaranteed win right there, baby.
That is a guaranteed win. The last thing I'm going to say before we leave is that St. Louis City, supposedly playing for the Open Cup, was up 2-1 on Minnesota into the 85th minute of the game, and then gave up 2 goals to who other than Anthony Markanek, former St. Louis City player, to lose to Minnesota 3-2 and get knocked out of the Open Cup. And I 100% have to say, on that note, I'm Drew. He's Cody. We will talk to y'all next week.
Go Sporting.